I got a haircut recently and I came back home with a big old bucket of shame. You see, when I was 4 years old, I remember my haircuts costing $5. Now, yes, I did just get a number 2 guard buzz cut and ended up looking like Sid from Toy Story, but that's beside the point. Fast forwarding to when I began to have control of my haircuts, I was older and actually cared about how much the price was. My parents always taught me to tip, since it was a nice gesture. $10 haircuts would cost me $15, we gave $5 tips. But then the price of haircuts began to increase. 15 turned into 20, 20 to 25, 25 into 30, now 35? Well, when I saw that dreadful screen asking me if I wanted a tip, I clicked skip. I mean, $40 for a haircut. It's gonna grow back in like 4 months. But then it's like $10 a month. No, I'm not gonna finance a damn haircut. I spent so much time these past days trying to justify not tipping. I mean, my barber gets paid regardless, then why tip? Because it's a nice gesture? But is it really? See, I began to think more about this concept of tipping, and I know I'm not alone in thinking that this has gotten out of hand.
So Americans are starting to tip less.
I'm so over tipping culture.
So who are you? First of all, I don't know why you're expecting other people to keep your lights on at home. Go for the people that you're working for, because they should be paying you more.
I have no issue looking you dead in the face and clicking no tip.
But now it feels like every place we go asks us to leave a tip, including and not limited to grocery stores and even self-checkouts.
Let me get this straight. I grabbed the cup, I pulled the lever that serves frozen yogurt, I put the toppings on myself, and when I get to the counter, they ask for a tip? For what? I did all the work. But man, do I feel horrible if I don't tip. I don't know why I feel bad if my reasons to not tip are reasonable, but after thinking about it, I realized I don't feel bad because I'm not giving them something they deserve. I feel bad because they may need it. But that defeats the whole purpose of a tip. You see, when you buy a product like a garden hose, you pay the price and that's the end of that. But it's different with something like a restaurant. You not only pay for the food, you also pay for the service. When you go to pay the bill, it is there when you decide to throw in some extra money, depending on the amount of extra effort or service. But what if there is no extra effort? What if there is no amazing service? Suddenly you become a horrible person for not leaving a tip? What is that about? Well, I saw this clip that was interesting.
How the f you didn't think they make money? I pay for my food. How am I fucking staff supposed to make money, huh?
Whoa, hold on. What do you mean? Hold on, run that back.
How am I fucking staff supposed to make money, huh?
See, that's a big problem. In California, fast food workers get paid $20 an hour. However, tipped employees only make $16.50 an hour. Suddenly, I understand why I feel less guilty not tipping a McDonald's worker than someone in a restaurant. The McDonald's app doesn't even have a function to tip, but people in the service industry really need this. I'm not saying it's impossible, but living a minimum wage life won't be a very luxurious one. Plus, what is $10 extra gonna hurt me? Might as well leave a tip. But wait, the bill was only $12. Why am I giving them a crispy 10? If you go to any restaurant, it usually has percentages at the bottom of the receipt that make it easier to tip. It's like 15, 18, or like 20% or something like that. But this has a huge flaw. For example, imagine you go to a small restaurant and the staff there is just, oh man, they are just amazing. You are starving, so you do what any rational person would do and order 5 orders of chicken strips. But so they don't get cold, you ask your lovely waitress to send them out every 10 minutes. After a delectable meal, you go to pay and the total comes out just under $25. You being generous, you give the full 20% at the bottom of the receipt. A couple weeks go by and you decide to treat yourself to some fine dining. I'm talking minimum $80 dishes. However, this time you're not so hungry, so you only get the lobster dish. It comes out in one plate and well, you finish and go pay. The bill comes out to $130 and you decide you're only going to do 15% of the bill. After all, they never gave you that refill of water when you asked. But hold on, why are they getting paid more? They only brought out one dish and the service was okay. Compared to the tenders, they gave an amazing service, brought out 5 dishes every 10 minutes and they're getting paid less? This isn't right, but that's how it is. On top of that, we no longer tip because we want to. We tip because we need to. Because they need you.
I love Sophia.
Everyone has heard about the trolley problem, right? No, there we go, that one. A trolley is on the loose and is headed straight toward 5 people on a track. However, there's a lever that will change the direction of the trolley. Unfortunately, one person is on this different track. You're faced with the choice, do nothing and let 5 people die, or pull the lever, saving 5 people, letting 1 person die. Assuming that all these people in this scenario are regular people, there's no murderers or doctors here, I'm pretty sure the answer's clear. You would pull the lever and save 5 people. You see, this ethical theory is known as utilitarianism. This theory focuses on maximizing the amount of pleasure for the maximum amount of people. In this case, 5 people and their families would be distraught if they found out their loved ones had died. Not just that, the guilt that you did nothing would haunt you. Imagine the amount of happiness and pleasure the 5 families would feel after hearing the good news that their loved ones survived. Now let's change things up. There is no rogue trolley, instead you are a doctor. You're presented with a problem. You see, you have 5 patients who are on the brink of death. 2 of these patients need 1 lung each, another 2 need 1 kidney each, and 1 needs a heart. You go to reach into your mini fridge where you keep your lungs and oh, it's empty. You would quickly hurry to the one filled with kidney. Oh, that one's empty too. You check the one nope, the heart's one, okay. Alright, you got no organs. As you continue to think about what to do, you look outside in the lobby and you see the families crying for the loved ones, hoping they make it through. But just before you break down, a young man walks in through the doors of the hospital. He is here for a checkup. You ask him questions and well, this man goes to the gym 5 times a week. He has a very strict diet, he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. He has no family relatives alive, no friends. Suddenly you get an idea. Now you can let these 5 patients of yours die and the blood would be on your hands. Why? Because you have another choice. Now you could take this healthy individual and take his lungs, kidneys, and heart and save 5 lives. Yeah, you ended one, but hey, we did a morally good action. At least according to utilitarianism, we are maximizing the amount of pleasure for the maximum amount of people. I mean, how is this any different from pulling the lever? The outcomes are the same, but there's a type of utilitarianism that solves this problem. Rule utilitarianism. Now yes, it still seeks for the maximum amount of pleasure for the maximum amount of people. Rather, deeming an action good or bad for this reason alone, it instead focuses on the long-term effects if said action were a rule. For example, if it were a rule for hospitals to always sacrifice 1 healthy patient to save 5 dying patients, no one would ever trust hospitals. Like imagine you go for an annual checkup, oh, there goes your kidney. Sure, we may maximize the pleasure of 5 people at that moment, but in the long run, suffering would spread to everyone. What if we use another example? You know the reason why you tip. Because these workers in the service industry aren't getting paid enough by their employers, and you decide to maximize the pleasure of not only yourself, but them as well. However, you ask yourself, if I continue to pay these workers wages instead of their employers doing so, would that actually lead to them getting paid a livable wage? If we suddenly made it a rule to always tip service workers, this would allow restaurants to continue underpaying their staffs, right? Now let me be clear. I am not saying that tipping is flat out immoral. I'm also not saying that the next time you see that screen, immediately press no tip. And lastly, I'm not saying that if you don't tip, suddenly everything is going to change. I'm inviting you to first think about your choice. Would you pull the lever or stand there and do nothing?